see you've got a lovely classic car there, a Talbot, 1929. Would you like to give us a talk about this lovely classic car?
Yes, it was built in London. The last company to make cars in London at Ladbroke Road, North Kensington. This car was built in 1929 and shipped out to Ireland in March 1930 to Kildare. Hence the registration number IO, which is Kildare in west of Dublin. So I haven't got much of history of the car after that, but I bought it in 1958. Brother and I found it in the scrapyard. Well, an MG specialist actually in Staines. Mr. Richardson, who owned the yard, said to Brother and I, said, "You two boys, the scrap cars are out the back." I said, "Oh, thank you very much." So we went out the back and found this. So we towed it home with Brothers Morris Minor, burnt the clutch out on that on the way home, towed it about 10-12 miles, and then the restoration started. Finished it about 1963. I sold it in 65 to buy a cottage, 2 up, 2 down, on the village green at Hartley, Winsney, and that's where I lived for 27 years. Trying to find the car was pretty useless, so got onto the STD, which is the Sunbeam Talbot Darragh Club, and they found it for me through the registration plate, which was on not the registration number, but the registration plate, which is the chassis number, and it was in Holland. So we brought it back 18 years ago, so it arrived on the doorstep, and pretty well, as you see it now, lots of work being done to it, but it is totally original. All that was changed was the upholstery. So, and we've had it ever since. Been to France several times in it. It was one of the famous Roche Talbots, of course, which George Roche was a designer for Clement Talbot, and he designed aero engines and all sorts of things, brilliant engineer. And so we use it quite a bit, and that's it really. But, and we're here. I'm a member of the Northants Austin Club, and I've organised our club stand here, which is great. Everybody's turned up, lovely lot of people around, and we do a lot of charity work with the club, and it's great. The plaque on there was Private Day, which was Esther Ranson's child line, so we got some money for them. So yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah. End of story, really.
A smashing show about the history of your Talbot, and we appreciate your time for the interview. It's fantastic. I mean, it's so classical, these dark cars. It's actually marvellous, the piece of engineering that went into it years ago.
Yeah, they're wonderful engineers. It's like Don behind you's got an Austin 7. I mean, they were built for the people, like Morris Cowleys, and they were built for the people. This is the time of engineering, the aircraft engineers we had throughout Great Britain was enormous, absolutely enormous, But yeah, we had some wonderful engineers, and we've probably still got them somewhere. But
yeah, it's nice one to find.
I'm just over 80 now, and it's we're losing a bit of touch with what's engineering wise these days. But we still keep them going. We club round. If someone's got problems, we get it sorted. Through the club. But yes, lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time, and many thanks for this film.
Is that all right?
Yes, thanks very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
My name is John. The car is a 1930 Model A4. It was produced between 1928 and 1931, and about 5 million were produced in that time. So the engine on this is 3.3 litre. Side valve, and top speed is about 55 miles an hour. And it does about 20 miles to the gallon, or thereabouts. It has rod brakes, and no modern conveniences, no power steering, no power brakes, but good fun to drive.
Hey, John.
This device we added for our classic trialling. It gives us miles travelled, and we can also alter it for the average speed and for the short distances between sections, so that you've got a continual mileage, and then you have another mileage here, which is your section mileage, and you can reset that without affecting the top. And then this part does either average speed or it will do road speed. And it actually is pretty accurate for mileage. And we have an app light and a clock to keep us on time. There are about 500,000 left in running order as far as we're aware, and parts are still quite readily available in the United States. There are several suppliers supplying the parts, and you can buy most parts for it. I purchased this car in 2013 from a chap in Maine in the United States. I imported it. It took about 3 months to get it through the registration process. I purchased it originally to do long distance classic trialing. We did a few events. We did the Land's End trial and we did the extra trial with it in 2014 and 2015. Since then I've moved on to other things. We use this car pretty regularly all through the year. This tends to be our winter car, because it's got a roof. I have a 1926 Austin as well, which is a Tourer, which is really only a summer car. But at the moment that's out of service, but work in progress.
Hi Nick, how are you today? Would you like to show us your vehicle, your vintage vehicle, and tell us a bit more about your car?
Well, yeah, it's 1947 standard flying out, drop head coupe, which I've had for over 30 years. I had stood for nearly 10 years before I actually started to restore it. All the front of the car was removed, but in the car when we got it from the scrapyard. Everything was there, so when we come to rebuild it wasn't a problem. I went right back to the bare chassis, started all over again. It took me approximately 12 years to get it up to ready for the paint. My eldest son lived in Yeovil and he volunteered to paint it when it was ready. So I took it down to him. And he had it for 7 years, preparing it as and when he had the time to do it. Eventually he got it ready for the paint, and at that stage I wanted to paint it royal blue coach, very, very dark blue. And he came back to me and said, wrong colour Nick, Dad, you might as well have it black. So he produced a photograph of one similar colour to this, after which I picked out this particular colour, and here we are, all sprayed up and ready to go.
So what CC engine is your...
This is an 8 horsepower,
Yep.
8 horsepower, yeah, 13.9 cc, only 4-cylinder, but quite capable of cruising at sort of 40 miles an hour without any trouble at all. I'm not sure what the top speed would be. I've never tried to get it up to top speed. I've been up to over 50 without too much of a problem. Normally I travel around about 40 miles an hour, and those behind will have to wait. Well, when we got it from the scrapyard, it was a complete wreck, and all the front of it has been dismantled and put inside the car. Fortunately, everything was there. When we came to rebuild it, we didn't have to go looking for parts. It was there to be put back on and obviously cleaned and repainted, etc. But I went back to the bare chassis and started all over again. Rebuilt the chassis, all the brakes, the steering, rebuilt the engine. The engine, when we got it, was seized solid. Managed to get it apart and get new pistons and gaskets, etc. Parts are fairly easily available. We've got within the standard motor club a very, very useful parts resource, and if he can't get it, then you're not going to find it. So, you know, any part that I've needed, although not a lot, odd bits and pieces here and there, otherwise it's come up together without a problem.
Well, many thanks for the interview, and I really appreciate your time and effort for this interview on your classic car. Because, you know, it's very nostalgic, especially on a lovely day like this. You know, in Basingstoke, in Memorial Park. And it's a lovely atmosphere here today, and it's fantastic, especially now we've got the sun coming out.
Certainly is. Very good.
And there's nothing nice and driving in the car, open top car.
That's right.
And you know, get out on a country drive somewhere and have a picnic.
Yeah. I think we're planning on stopping at a pub on the way back.
Oh, I don't blame you either. That's fantastic. Okay, well, thanks for your time and for this video, and I really appreciate your time for today. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, John.
Hi.
Hi, would you like to give us a talk about your Austin 7, 1928?
1928, built in 1928, first registered January 1929 as the new model being made by Austin's, and there were lots and lots of improvements. One of the things was originally they used to be, I don't think of the word, but now they're coil ignition, so they're a lot easier to start, a lot easier to run. And I bought this because of my childhood. My parents had Austin 7s, and I was brought up with them, and I decided that when I retired I'd buy an Austin 7, and I was lucky enough to find this one at Longley, at the Austin 7 show at Longley, and it was fully restored from a barn find by the previous owner, and he spent probably 2 years bringing it up to this. It had been in the barn for 35 years, something like that, so it was in a bad way, and as I say, he managed to make it into this, and I've owned it for 17 years with not too many problems. It had a few problems, but nothing really serious. That was when it was pulled out of the barn after being in there for 30 odd years, and it was fully restored. From that. Okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic, John. I really appreciate your time doing this interview with your car, and I hope you get many pleasures in years driving it.
Sorry?
Or I hope you get many years
Yeah, so do I, thank you.
pleasure, you and your wife, driving it, and go out for country teas and scones.
Yeah,
Especially on a lovely day like this.
like this was, yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name's Bob Howden. This is my M-type midget, 1930 construction. It's what some might call a crude sort of car. There's not much finesse in any of it. The engine is fairly small. It's only 847cc and develops somewhere around 20 to 25 horsepower. So not terribly fast, but the good thing is it's a very light vehicle, so it weighs about half a ton all up. So 20 horsepower is probably enough, and you can drive it, it'll cruise quite nicely between 45 to 50 miles an hour, and if you're brave enough, you can wind it up to 60 or so. But that does need a bit of bravery because the roads are not good enough. It jumps about being so light, and that makes steering a little bit difficult. The car was more or less in this condition when I got it. I've owned it for about 10 years. The bodywork is as you see it now. I've done some work mechanically to it. I work on the engine. I've replaced the crown wheel and pinion, done work on the suspension, that sort of thing. But essentially, it's fairly reliable. I use it all the year round as long as there is no salt in the road. And I've even used it for shopping. So you might see it in the local Sainsbury's car park if I'm around in that sort of direction. Other than that, I use it for joyriding mainly and coming to shows like this.